Welcome to this edition of the Botanical Medicine Study Course with me, Stephanie Georgieff, your host and instructor for the online course in all things botanical medicine. Now, at the time of the posting of this video, it is the first week of September, and for many in the Northern Hemisphere, this is Labor Day weekend. So a big shout out to all who are laboring to make our world a better place, especially our farmers and herb growers. We owe you all a multitude of thanks for your hard work that helps to feed us and provide herbal harvests that heal us. So for this episode of Herb of the Week, we will explore a plant that I simply love the common name for, Butterbur. Butterbur has traditionally been used to help relieve pain and more recently has garnered a lot of attention for its ability to prevent migraine headaches. Now, the common name for this lovely plant is Butterbur, purple Butterbur, and the Latin name is Pitastis hybridus. It also goes by the name of Pistacis officinalis or Tussilago hybrida. And the last name is because the shape of the leaf looks a lot like Tussilago or coltsfoot. Now, Pitastis hybridus is also known as Butterbur, is an herbaceous perennial flowering plant in the family Asteraceae. And that's the daisy family, and it's native to Europe and Northern Asia. The species is dioecious, which means the male and female flowers are on separate plants. So in Britain, the male flowers are widespread, but the female flowers have a restricted distribution in northern and central England. So I think this is just to control the plant because it's a runner, which means it can overtake things. Now, the flowers are produced in early spring before the leaves appear, which is kind of interesting. It's usually the other way around. And the flowers are pale pink and they have little clusters. And why it's in the Asteraceae family is the flower, there's just a whole bunch of them on each one of the plants. And the leaves are very large. And the Japonicus variety is like super large. And again, to me, the leaves look quite a bit like coltsfoot at the first glance. The name Butterbur is attributed to the traditional use of its large leaves to wrap butter in warm weather. And in the Middle Ages, Butterbur was used for plague and fever. And in the 17th century, which means in the 1600s, it was used to treat cough, asthma, and skin wounds. Now, the medicinal actions of Butterbur is that it has anti-inflammatory properties, antihistamine properties, and it also has antispasmodic properties, which means it stops muscle spasms. But today, in modern times, it's mostly used for migraine headaches and for seasonal hay fever. Now, something I found really interesting is the American Headache Society gave the herb an A-level recommendation and declared it effective in preventing migraine headaches. It seems to reduce the frequency of migraines in adults. And in 2012, the American Academy of Neurology recommended its use for preventing migraines. However, they stopped recommending it in 2015 because of serious concerns about liver toxicity. Now, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, the magical compound is called pitocin, and this is a natural chemical compound found in this whole family of plants. It's called a sesquiterpene, and it's an ester of petosol and angelic acid. And this wonderful chemical that you can see before you is believed to be responsible for the anti-inflammatory effects of our butterbur. Now, a recent study, and this is 2021, which already is 3 years old, reported that this substance can inhibit tumor growth and metastasis in animals who are infected with cancer. So obviously, they're going to be looking at this quite seriously because of that. Now, there is a lot of cautions, and you need to take these cautions seriously, but I'm also a little amused when people go gaga over these. But the biggie bugaboo in plant medicine is something called pyrrolizidine alkaloids. And this is the thing that just causes everyone to faint, even at the mere mention of it, because they say that this harms the liver. So if you have cirrhosis or liver cancer, or you've had a liver transplant, anything with this or with this substance in it is not a good idea. Now you can get pyrrolizidine free products, and it has to be certified. Now, of course, the literature says sometimes when products say it's been removed, it hasn't. But if it's certified, then it seems like that is safe. And the thing you would look for on the label is certified PA free. It is also recommended not to take this when you're pregnant or breastfeeding. And it's also not recommended for children under the age of 6. And it also is known to counteract anticholinergic drugs. And anticholinergic drugs are a type of medication that blocks the action of a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. And acetylcholine is involved in quite a few things. And this medication blocks acetylcholine. And so drugs such as atropine, benzotropine, scolopamine, clinidin, flavoxate, these are all like brand names, not brand names, I'm sorry, generic. So make sure you talk to your physician, your herbalist, and your pharmacist if you are on any type of anticholinergic medication. This is something that you shouldn't take. Now, how do you take it? Now, I, want to be fully transparent. I have never used Butterbur in my practice or personally. I actually was completely unaware of this until I was working at Pharmaca in Napa, California. And I adore Pharmaca. I worked for Pharmaca in Irvine, and then when I moved to Napa, I worked there. And I don't even know if they're still in business, but it was a really wonderful chain of pharmacies that started, of course, in Boulder, Colorado. And it was an integrative pharmacy, which meant it had prescription medications and a pharmacist on staff, but a full array of natural supplements. And they hired people like me to answer questions. And what I loved about working there is I got to be up front and center on the supplement market. So, but I can tell you, when I was working there in Napa, Butterbur was very popular, and that was the first I ever heard of it. Now, there are all kinds of ways to take this. You can get creams, you can take extracts. The leaf and root are the parts of the plant that are the most medicinally active. So you can either get a combination of leaf and root or get them separate. You can get them in tinctures, as I said, capsules. You can also get the bulk plant parts, mostly it's roots, and you can make tea. So I noticed when I was doing research for this video that Etsy apparently sells a lot of Butterbur products. And when I was trying to look up the companies for the creams, I could not find any information on that. So I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're good. I'm just saying I couldn't find information on it. Now, because it is a runner plant, which means it propagates underground, it's very easy to grow. And the plant really likes rich soil and some moisture, not super damp. And it grows well in shade. So it's really a nice plant to grow. And there are several species of butterburs. So you may get a plant or some seeds, and the plant is not Pistaces hybridus. It's something like Pistaces japonica. And Pistaces japonica is enormous in terms of the leaves. So it just depends on why you want to grow this plant. If you want to grow it for medicinal purposes, you need the leaves and the root. If you just want decorative, you can go for the japonica. Some sources say that it can be grown in container gardens. I personally have no experience with this. And remember, I just love the name Butterbur, and I became familiar with it when I was working in an integrative pharmacy. There's all kinds of things you can do for hay fever and migraines. Like I said, there are certain cautions with Butterbur if you're a migraine sufferer, so make sure you discuss with your neurologist, etc. And of course, as usual, I have links in the program notes if you want to plant this in your garden. I've got a really fun video I found on YouTube. I just thought it was fun, so I'm sharing it with you lovely garden people. So however you want to incorporate this lovely plant into your repertoire, I hope you come to really appreciate the gifts that it offers, but also the beauty. Because it's an Asteraceae, it's really good for regenerating soil. So make sure to check out the links in the program notes for all sorts of fun things. And thank you so much for tuning in and spending your valuable time with me. I hope on the day of this posting, if you're watching it on the day of the posting, you have a pleasant Labor Day, and thanks to all who labor in every way possible. You make the world go round. And this is Stephanie Georgia saying, I hope until next time, you are all quite well.